Now, democracies are characterized as secular or religious. Is religion a necessity for a democracy? The Christian religion in South Africa has a rich history of engaging state and society on a number of issues, and these relate to governance, leadership, and policy, and also dealing with the moral problems that the society is facing. But what is the role of religion in South Africa today? We're joined by struggle stalwart and cleric Reverend Frank Chikane. Reverend Chikane, good evening, and thank you so much for your time today. What do you see as the role of religion in contemporary South Africa?
Well, it depends on how you define religion. My understanding is that faith is part of our lives and that you can't separate it from politics, from government. It informs everything that we are about, as it did in the past. And that's why lately we have dealt with the issues of morality, of values. We organized the Civil Society Convention of South Africa to deal with what values we would assign ourselves to or subscribe to as South Africans, informed by our faith and informed by our different beliefs and concepts, ideas. It really doesn't matter. What matters is what type of society we need and how religious communities can contribute to it.
And of course, religion in and of itself can often be a contentious issue depending on what one believes in. How do you think that as societies we can be better working together despite the fact that people have this multiplicity of beliefs and faiths?
No, in a plural society, like South Africa, we are a plural society. We have got multiplicity of different religions, ideological perspectives. Those issues are not important for me. What is important is, are we doing justice? And the measurement about justice for me is the key issue. If there's any religious perspective or ideological perspective that does not take justice, an indivisible form of justice, that is justice for all in the country, whether you are black, white, whether you are poor or rich, the point is there must be justice. And so that's the measuring stick for me. And all religious perspectives for me, traditions for me, align themselves with the concept of indivisible justice. And I don't see any differences about it. There might be differences about politics, but you can't have differences about the issues of justice.
Of course, one of the things that we've seen recently is this conversation around how far it is that one can go in expressing their religious beliefs, especially for those who occupy significant positions in our country and, in our constitution. Most recently, of course, would have been the Constitutional Court Chief Justice Mogoeng. Do you have a view on that, on whether or not it is appropriate for our leaders to do certain things based on their beliefs?
No, you see, I think people are measuring the issue about the Chief Justice on another basis that I don't want to enter. The question that whether or not the Chief Justice or a judge can engage in debates like those. I don't think for me that's the issue. It should be resolved in terms of the codes and, disciplinary issues of the judges. The issue for me is whether or not your religious perspectives divide people around the issues of justice. That's the real measurement. And so if you want me to engage with the Chief Justice, I would not engage with him at the level of, is it legal? Is it permissible? I would engage with him at the level of his ideology and his theology, which is a different matter. But that's not what we are here to discuss today. The point is that you can't have a religious perspective that is not compatible with the justice of all people. It can't be exclusive. It can't be for one group against another. Mm. If anybody believes like that, then of course it's unacceptable. Mm.
Let's talk about the kind of role that we have seen religion play in South Africa. And if you just take a look at our history and some of the founding fathers, maybe of the ANC, who, of course, would have led part of the struggle against apartheid, many of them were also in the church, were also either serving as pastors or as reverends like yourself. Do you think that that is still the same today, that the church still has a significant voice in issues of the country and of governance in the way that it did before?
Well, I think you just have to track the SACC this year alone. The South African Council of Churches. I mean, it has been engaged since 2015. We talked about the South Africa we pray for, and we indicated the challenges of state capture, where the state is captured to use it in the interest of some people and not the people of South Africa. And we approached the governing party about it. We indicated we will have to declare this government to be morally illegitimate if it is no more serving the people. Mm-hmm. And we walked that journey and formed the unburdening panel. And you know that recently we've been dealing with COVID, making representation of what we need to do, the gaps within the policy of government, the way in which they reach the poor. It's our responsibility, and we've been playing that part. And that is not a party political role. Mm. It has to do with the people of God, which is all the people of the country, not people who belong to a particular religious group or another. And so the church has been playing its role. Obviously, its members are members of the political parties. And that's my critique about it, that if we can claim to be 80% Christian, we shouldn't be so corrupt. So which means the corrupt lot is in the church. And therefore, the church must be dealing with those issues. And so for me, it's more the role of religious expression in terms of life rather than just the issues of differences of religion.
Reverend Chikane, we're also wrapping up 2020, and it's been an incredibly difficult year for many as we continue to fight COVID-19. And I think, you know, when you think about the families that have lost loved ones, those that have been left unemployed, the ramifications for South Africa have been incredible. What do you think religious leaders, including yourselves, you know, what role do you see them playing during this period to try and give, I suppose, some sense of hope to many South Africans?
Yeah, well, that's what we've been doing. Maybe it's because it's not published enough. We've been meeting every week since March up to recently in September, every week as church leaders to determine how we deal with the pandemic, how we reach the people, how we educate people, how we educate pastors, so that they don't have super spreaders which kill people. We've been having churches offering services and helping the bereaved throughout the country. We also are working on, and it's developing what we call local ecumenical networks, which work together on the ground to deal with the crisis we are facing. I think the challenge now, South Africa has handled this matter well. The challenge is for the people of South Africa to realize if they don't follow the protocols that are required, we're going to lose more and more lives. And our call at this moment, especially going to this festive season, is that people must refrain from activities that are super spreaders. They must better stay at home, interact with family in a limited way, make sure they keep the distance, make sure they sanitize, make sure they wash their hands. That's the only way in which we can defeat this pandemic. If we don't do that, we're going to see more and more people die, and that's totally unacceptable.
Reverend Frank Chikane, let me thank you so much for your time then on News at Prime tonight.